In October 2015, a call reached the CIA headquarters in Virginia. The line connected to John Brennan, the director of the CIA. As he answered, he had no idea that he was about to be thrust into an unprecedented situation. On the other end of the line was a young boy, just 15 years old, who claimed he had hacked into the CIA's entire system. While many would dismiss such a call as a prank, Brennan knew better. As the head of one of the world's most powerful intelligence agencies, this was no laughing matter. The caller, who identified himself as Cracker, demanded that the U.S. cease its military operations in the Middle East, particularly in Palestine, and promote peace instead. This audacious demand would send shockwaves through the CIA and the broader American intelligence community. The implications of a child hacking such a formidable agency were staggering. Despite the seriousness of the claim, the call was initially perceived as a prank. After all, who would believe that a teenager could breach one of the most secure systems in the world? However, behind the facade of this call lay a story of youth, skill, and a desire for change. Background of the hackers. To understand how a child could pull off such a hack, we must delve into the lives of the two young hackers, Cracker and Default. Cracker's journey. Cracker was raised in a modest household in Leicester, England. From an early age, he showed an affinity for technology. His father, a computer engineer, often encouraged his curiosity about how things worked. By the time he was a teenager, Cracker was proficient in various programming languages and had already made a name for himself in online gaming communities. His interest in hacking was sparked by witnessing social injustices portrayed in the media. He was particularly moved by stories of war and conflict in the Middle East, which led him to believe that technology could be a tool for change. This belief drove him to create a community of like-minded individuals, crackers with attitude, where they discussed hacking, activism, and their visions for a better world. Default's evolution. Meanwhile, Default lived in Virginia, USA. Like Cracker, he was an avid gamer, spending countless hours mastering the art of video games. However, he soon discovered that he could manipulate game mechanics to cheat, winning effortlessly and gaining notoriety among his peers. His initial foray into hacking was motivated by the thrill of victory, but it quickly evolved into a more profound desire to make a statement. Inspired by the infamous hacking group Anonymous, Default began experimenting with more serious hacks, targeting small websites and using his skills to challenge authorities and raise awareness about social issues. His involvement with a group called an SEC allowed him to connect with others who shared his passion, leading to larger and more impactful hacks. The hacking community. Both boys found themselves part of a larger digital culture that celebrated hacking as a form of activism. The online hacking community was diverse, with members from all walks of life uniting under the banner of freedom of information and anti-establishment sentiments. The role of Anonymous. Anonymous had become a household name by 2015, known for its high-profile hacks against governments, corporations, and institutions. Their message was simple. Information should be free, and power should not be concentrated in the hands of a few. This ethos resonated deeply with both Cracker and Default, who saw hacking not just as a skill, but as a means to fight against perceived injustices. The motivation behind the hack. The motivations of both boys were multifaceted. For Cracker, the driving force was empathy. He was deeply affected by the conflicts in the Middle East and felt that the U.S. government's actions were unjust. He believed that by hacking the CIA, he could draw attention to these issues and perhaps even prompt a change in policy. For Default, the motivation was more personal. He had witnessed various forms of government overreach and social injustices in the U.S. His hacking efforts were fueled by a desire to expose corruption and challenge the status quo. He was frustrated that despite his successful hacks, the credit often went to more prominent groups like Anonymous. Planning the hack. The actual planning of the hack was a meticulous process. Cracker and Default communicated through encrypted channels, sharing tips and strategies. They relied on each other's strengths. Cracker had a knack for reconnaissance, while Default was more skilled in executing attacks. Gathering intelligence. Before launching their attack, they gathered as much information as possible about the CIA systems. They scoured forums, read articles, and studied the CIA's publicly available resources to identify potential vulnerabilities. Their goal was to find a weak point that would allow them to gain access without detection. Executing the hack. When they felt ready, they decided to execute their plan. Using a combination of social engineering and technical skills, they managed to infiltrate the CIA's network. Cracker took the lead in the reconnaissance phase, while Default utilized his skills to execute the hack. The breach itself was swift. They accessed sensitive information, but instead of leaking it, they wanted to make a statement. This led to the infamous phone call to Brennan, where Cracker voiced their demands. Aftermath of the hack. Once the call ended, chaos ensued within the CIA. The breach raised serious questions about the agency's security protocols and capabilities. How could a teenager, armed with little more than determination and skill, infiltrate such a powerful organization? Government response. The U.S. government immediately launched an investigation. Teams of cybersecurity experts were called in to assess the damage and identify how the breach occurred. Reports flooded in about the vulnerability of various systems, leading to a comprehensive review of cybersecurity measures across government agencies. Media coverage. As news of the breach leaked, it captured media attention worldwide. Headlines screamed about a teen hacker taking on the CIA, and debates ensued regarding the implications of hacking as a form of protest. Some viewed Cracker and Default as heroes, while others condemned them as reckless criminals. Public reaction. Public opinion was divided. Many sympathized with their cause, viewing them as activists standing against government oppression. Others feared the implications of such a breach, questioning the security of sensitive information in the digital age. Personal consequences. For both boys, the hack had significant personal repercussions. Cracker faced scrutiny from law enforcement in the UK, while Default had to navigate the complexities of being a minor involved in a high-profile case in the US. Legal ramifications. The legal consequences of their actions loomed large. Both boys had to contend with the possibility of prosecution, which could alter their lives forever. Their families were thrust into the spotlight,